Welcome to U.S. Defense Line Channel. Russian soldiers withdrawing from Kherson took action in Crimea. Russia started to play its last trump card in order not to experience even bigger defeat after its biggest defeat. Panic is growing in Moscow. Anticipating Ukraine's next move, Russia made an effort to establish new lines of defense. Russia, which has decided to withdraw from the most key region in the country as a result of great losses, is now trying its last chance. According to breaking news, Russian soldiers have started to renovate old trenches and dig new ones in the northern parts of Kherson and Crimea. As a result of these developments, it was reported that the trenches located between the two regions, near the entrance and exit point, were restored. At the same time, new trenches are being dug. With this move, Russia shows that it is alarmed. It has long been evident that after the rapid advance and effective operations of Ukraine, the Russian soldiers began to have a very difficult time. In fact, the number of Russian soldiers who have been neutralized, surrendered, or taken prisoner has increased in recent days. Thereupon, they found the solution to retreat. But now a defense preparation has been made in Crimea. Reason for this preparation and fuss is that Ukraine will be able to make a move towards Crimea at any moment. Ukraine, which is known to want to take back Crimea, will get closer to this goal after retaking Kherson. New front of the war may be Crimea. Ukraine continues to inflict great damage on Russia. Ukrainian troops neutralized nearly 800 Russian soldiers in just one day. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine continues to share the latest losses of Russian forces. Explosion sounds were heard one after another in the regions. To multiple launch rocket systems, 11 artillery systems, 12 armored combat vehicles, 15 tanks, to air defense systems, and 7 unmanned aerial vehicles of the Russian forces were destroyed by Ukrainian troops in just one day. Ukraine has neutralized more than 78,000 Russian soldiers since the start of the war in February. Russia, which has suffered thousands of casualties since the beginning of the war, may find it difficult if a move towards Crimea is made, because Ukraine does not leave a solution to Moscow with its strategic moves. Ukraine has also been signaling its moves towards Crimea, especially in recent months. After hitting both Russian military bases and bridges, it began to weaken Russia's logistics lines. Then he tried to weaken his defense and attack power with the moves he made over the sea. Realizing all these moves meticulously, Ukraine is moving towards its goal step by step. Now anything can happen at any time. Both sides show their struggle, but we can say that Ukraine has now completely taken the advantage. He achieved this by liberating the Kherson region. For Russia, the situation is quite the opposite. It continues to suffer serious losses since the beginning of the war. Moreover, it cannot make up for its losses. Russia, which already has very few supporters, cannot use the support it receives efficiently. Most of the drones from Iran were destroyed. It is estimated that more than 400 unmanned aerial vehicles in total have been used in the attack on Ukraine since the first batch delivered by Iran to Russia. Ukraine's defense forces destroyed most of these drones. Sharing the details, Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Yuri Init explained that the percentage of unmanned aerial vehicles shot down by Ukraine's air defense is constantly increasing. Init also stated that in response to the server's statement that Iranian-made drones have decreased slightly recently, this is due to the influence of the availability, deployment, transportation, and weather conditions of these drones. Russian troops, however, continue to attack Ukrainian territory, taking their last chance. Offensive of the Russian forces in the Sumy region was thwarted. Russian military equipment continues to be destroyed. A Russian drone was shot down on the Sumy front. Sharing details from this front, Dmitro Jivitsky, head of the Sumy Oblast Military Administration, announced that this unmanned aerial vehicle was destroyed using small arms. Jivitsky in turn praised the soldiers of the armed forces of Ukraine. We can say that the Ukrainian troops, which proved their superior success since the beginning of the war, set an example for the whole world. They can achieve great success by fighting more armies. Moreover, it was seen that he was successful many times not only against the Russian army, but also against the Chechen army. Russia, on the other hand, continues to carry out its attacks on infrastructures. As it is known, the country's energy has been damaged due to the recent attacks on the energy infrastructure on the territory of Ukraine. After these attacks of Russia, Ukraine sought support from Western countries in this regard. According to new statements, Western countries are supporting Ukraine. Ukraine continues to buy generators and necessary equipment from Western countries. Ukraine announced that 17 European Union member states responded to this call after Russia's attacks on its energy infrastructure. It was reported that these 17 countries sent 500 generators to Ukraine. Generators were not the only support Ukraine received after Russia's attack. Ukraine has long emphasized the need for the country's air defense. Several countries responded to these requests of Ukraine. It was announced that the defense forces requested by Ukraine would come from the United States and Germany. According to new information, Germany has added new weapons to its list of weapons aid to Ukraine. It is reported that Germany also added missiles for the Dingo armored vehicle and the Iris-T air defense system, which was delivered to Ukraine beforehand. When German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier visited Kiev, he also announced that they were supplying Ukraine with 4 Panzerhaubitze 2000 howitzers and 2 additional Mars multi-rocket launcher systems. While Ukraine is acquiring more and more weapons, Russia's options are very limited. This situation is also of great importance in the course of the war. Because, thanks to these aids, while Ukraine's resources are increasing, Russia's is rapidly decreasing. New statements regarding the negotiations came from Ukraine and Russia. Recently, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Andriy Rodinko announced that the Russian Federation has no preconditions for negotiating with Ukraine. He said that all it takes is Ukraine to show goodwill. The latest statements came from Russia again. Spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, Maria Zakharova, stated that Russia is still open to negotiations. They have never denied this, and they can be carried out taking into account the current situation. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's stance on not starting negotiations while Russian President Vladimir Putin was in power has changed. Zelensky announced on Monday under what conditions Ukraine would accept negotiations with Russia. The most striking of these conditions was the condition for Putin's exit from power. Change in Zelensky's attitude is thought to have been influenced by the administration of United States President Joe Biden. Biden administration is believed to have asked Ukraine to remove the requirement for Putin to step out of power. Even if other countries have influence on this issue, it cannot be said that the green light has been given to the negotiations of the two countries at the moment. William Taylor, the former ambassador of the United States to Ukraine, also made important statements by commenting on the statements of Ukraine. Taylor stressed that Russia should leave and rejoin the grain agreement and reduce its nuclear threats, but said Vladimir Putin appeared to be bowing to the truth. He also stated that he did not think that the Russian Federation would negotiate without further military defeat. Wolf Volker, who was the special envoy for Ukraine during the Trump administration, also declared that the United States should not push Ukraine into negotiations, at least for the time being. Volker explained that Putin has no intention of serious negotiations and accepting these conditions, and that he is determined to continue attacking by targeting Ukraine. For this reason, he stressed that the United States should be helped so that Ukraine can regain control of its territory. Decisions taken by the leaders of the countries now have a significant impact on the course of the war. In these days when both countries need to proceed cautiously, countries that receive more support and make more accurate progress will gain great advantages. This will make critical achievements on the fronts easier. Now we can say that every move has an importance that can determine the fate of countries. For this, both countries should not allow mistakes in their progress. Otherwise, the war will turn into something completely different. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.